Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm excited today to have Laura Harley with us. Laura is a certified personal and professional coach who has a lot of experience working with people, and she's also a Baha'i children's class teacher and an animator of junior youth groups, and as well as a mother of two. So I'm really excited for what she has to share with you today. Welcome, Laura.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here today. It's exciting to be talking about consultation. And so yes, I have two children, a son who's 7 and a daughter who's 4. And I work as a personal and professional coach. So I'm often using, the principles of consultation with my clients and helping them apply it to their lives. And so, yeah, it's exciting to get to just kind of explore some of these questions around this.
So can we begin by just talking about why consultation is important for families?
Yes, it brings to mind so many beautiful passages from our writings about that. There's a quotation from Baha'u'llah where he says, "Take ye counsel together in all matters, inasmuch as consultation is the lamp of guidance, which leadeth the way, and is the bestower of understanding." Just such a beautiful quotation. And, it makes me think that we are really living in a world that needs a lot more people who are willing to work together towards a common understanding. And I think that if in our families, if we're working with our children to build those skills, to work with others who might have different opinions, to build a common understanding, that we're contributing to an ever-advancing civilization in that way, because then they'll go out and have those skills to use with their friends and then their family when they're choosing a partner and in their workplaces. And so from a big picture standpoint, I think that's one really important thing to remember. And I also think it's just, when my family practices consultation, it really helps us to create healthy family dynamics, to really build strong relationships. And also it seems to have this really wonderful effect to repair relationships. If we get into a time when maybe we're having some more conflict or just a little more tension, with one or someone else in our family members, as tends to happen, when we consult about things, it has this wonderful effect of dilating our hearts and creating more trust again. And I think too, when we look, there's a quotation from Abdul Baha where he talks about the prime requisites, that we need to try to embody when we're consulting. And it really reminds us that this is really a spiritual discipline, that we're really trying to work on together. I'll just read this from Abdul Baha. He says, "The prime requisites for them that take counsel together are purity of motive, radiance of spirit, detachment from all else save God, attraction to his divine fragrances, humility and lowliness amongst his loved ones, patience and long suffering in difficulties, and servitude to his exalted threshold." So just when I think about a family, coming together to practice those virtues, however imperfectly we may be doing it at the moment, I think of a family that feels very compassionate and loving, and a family that feels like a place where it's safe to make mistakes together and learn. So I just think there's so many wonderful ways that consultation can help us in our families.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I think if we look back on our own childhood and think about if we were brought up with consultation, how that benefited us, or if we had been brought up with consultation, how that would have changed our ability to consult with other people. It's really useful to think about how much our children will get out of learning this as kids.
Yes.
So can you elaborate on the consultation process that you use at home?
Sure. Yeah. So, all the kind of source material for consultation is found in the Baha'i writings. And then over the years, there have been people that have created different models kind of as a way to try to apply those principles in action. And I'm sure many more models will be developed too over the years. But the model that my family has been using is a 6-step model, and you can find it in a book actually that my parents wrote about consultation. It's called Transformed. Here, I have it right here. I'll show it to you. And it's called Transformed: How to Make the Decisions That Change Your Life by Bill Harley and Jean Harley. And you can get this, on Amazon or through the Baha'i Publishing Trust in the US. And so this 6-step model is really useful for our family. And I can just briefly go through it if that would be useful, through these 6 steps. Okay, so so the first step is to really turn to our Creator and pray for divine guidance. And, every time my family does this, I'm just amazed at the effect, because, we're really immediately trying to humble ourselves before our Creator, ask for that assistance. And it's sort of like, even if you're trying to use consultation in a conflict situation, this step immediately, it feels like it dilates your heart, it opens you. And sometimes our family is in a focused place at that moment, and we're able to sit down and have a few prayers. And just to be real, sometimes, I'm trying to use consultation and my kids are in the middle of a argument, and it might be more messy. I might get off a quick prayer. Maybe one's listening, the other one seems distracted, but however we try to do it, this step is, so important. And then the next step is to identify and agree on the facts of the situation. So, for example, recently my kids were in an argument about, they made up this sort of imaginative play game, and they both wanted to play with this toy, and they were both upset about it. And so identifying the facts was just me kind of going to them saying, hey guys, I'm hearing, you're getting upset, tell me more about what's going on. Identifying the facts was also about hearing how each of them were feeling, hearing what their thoughts were. And so it's just kind of making sure everybody's on the same page. And then the third step is to identify and agree on the issue, which is an interesting step because it's surprisingly easy. I've discovered the hard way that it's easy to be in a group and think that you're all trying to solve the same problem, but then as you move forward to realize, oh, actually we might be working on slightly different problems. So this step is really useful because, like in the example I was just giving, sometimes my kids get in an argument and it might actually be about a toy or something that they both need to take turns in the solution, and the issue is about how do we make that happen. But other times the issue might originally seem to be about a toy, but it's really more about maybe someone's feelings were hurt in an interaction. So actually the core of the issue is, how do we repair those feelings? And then the stuff about the toy kind of disappears because the real issue was the hurt feelings. So that's that step. The fourth step is to identify and agree on the spiritual principles involved. And this step is this is probably my favorite because I find children resonate so much with this step. So in this step, I might say to the kids, I'm wondering what some of the spiritual principles involved here are. I know you guys love each other a whole lot. I know you're feeling upset right now. I know we strive to be kind to each other. And I might ask them, what are some other things, that, and they might talk about, I'm not feeling very joyful right now, or sharing, and so just this step of bringing in the spiritual principles again has that effect of helping us step back from our big feelings and look at the bigger picture and see what's important. So then the fifth and sixth steps are just about identifying and agreeing on solution ideas, and then also on the implementation of those ideas, because it's really easy to find a solution, but then forget to figure out as a family, like, okay, now how are we going to actually put this into action? So that's kind of in a nutshell what those 6 steps are like. And in the book, there's a lot of examples and questions to kind of help us through those steps, but that's just an overview.
That's really great. I think consultation as a topic can sometimes be a bit overwhelming because you don't really know where to start or what, who's doing what. So it's really helpful to have those steps. And thank you for sharing the concrete examples with the kids.
Sure.
There's actually, I know that people often talk about how difficult it is to have conversations with kids, especially when there's multiple kids and they're at different ages. And can you share any more tips about addressing challenges of consulting with young children?
Yes, I think that often we wonder, are my children too young to do consultation? Like, is this something I should even attempt? And I think what I've learned through experience is that yes, absolutely, they can do it, and they'll have wonderful ideas. And I think that when Baha'u'llah brought us consultation, with that creative word, it kind of creates within all of us the capacity to be able to do that. So I think as parents, we can do a lot to kind of help our kids have a successful experience with it so that they'll want to keep doing it. And a lot of that, I think, is just our attitude and our genuine desire to hear their ideas and to listen, to hear their questions. Kids have awesome questions. I mean, my kids will often come up with a question in the middle of consultation that I have never thought of before, and it kind of illuminates a new pathway of exploration for the family. And on a real practical level, I think just to know that sometimes it is going to be messy. And like those steps I just shared, sometimes, we follow the steps. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes I'm on step 3 and I realize I forgot step 1 and we trying to go back, and it's all okay. I think just that we're trying is the main thing. Another thing that's been really useful for us is that a lot of kids can kind of stay present and concentrate better if their hands are busy. So our kids are 4 and 7, and if sometimes we're using consultation on the fly, like in the car or when an argument's happening, but if it's more of the type of consultation where we're sitting down and maybe it's a little more planful, we might set up activities, quiet activities for the kids. Like for my son, he loves to do Legos, so I'll get some Legos out. My daughter, maybe I'll get her some Play-Doh. She loves Play-Doh. And then what I find is they're able to keep busy, but also, kind of keep their ears open. They might just be listening. They might not be paying attention for part of it, or they might pipe up when I even think they're not paying attention. But that seems to help them kind of stay with it a little bit longer. I think often when we maybe read a blog entry about consultation in the family, or read a book and we read examples that are given, it's often times when things have gone relatively smoothly. And just I hope that we can all remember that for every process of consultation that goes smoothly in my family, I have several that don't. And I think that that's okay, because it's part of the process to see. Sometimes we get a little derailed, or we don't come up with a solution, but maybe we've come a little further in our understanding, and that's useful also. And so I think just to see that those attempts are made, and that we're trying and we're creating a loving atmosphere, I just think that goes a long way to helping all of us understand what consultation is, because we're all in that learning process.
That's so true. I think one of the beautiful things about the faith is that we're reminded to be in a learning mode, and, forgiving each other, and we're not, none of us are perfect. We're all just striving, and remembering that as parents, we also have to embody that, that the constant cycle of growth, and
Yes.
not expecting everything to go well is just part of how life is, whether you have young kids or not, but especially with young kids.
Yes,
So,
so true. Yeah.
so thank you so much for sharing those tips with us today. And I look forward to reading. I'll put some links below this video for the people who are watching to check out some more about the book and about your thoughts on consultation. So thank you, Laura, for sharing.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.